Let me put it this way, to say this mind boggles me, it would be an understatement, and also if I was a Michigan or an Ohio State fan, I would be highly concerned. This is going to catch a lot of you off guard for the main reason. Number one, I think many people haven't noticed this, and two, the people that have noticed this, they don't think it's a big deal. On the contrary though, and obviously since I am making this video, put two and two together, I do think it's a big deal. Whoa, hold on. I know what you're sitting there saying, yo Matt, what in the crap are you talking about? Well, my friend, that is a great, and let me repeat that, that's a great question, and I also have a great answer. In today's video, we got to talk about what is currently going on with the Ohio State and Michigan and why it is such a weird situation. That's going to be the word of this video, and that's how I'm going to label it because it is weird. Also, got a couple other minor topics to throw in there and speak about. It's going to be a jam-packed video. All right, Matt, blah, 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 shut the crap up. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, first things first, I got asked a question on Twitter, and just let me read it off to you guys. Sean said, Matt, how do you feel about Saban saying nah to these NIL deals? Feel like he needs to pony up and get with the times, or are y'all cool with being less than competitive from a recruiting and retention standpoint in the future? My immediate reaction when I first read that, I was like, what is this guy talking about? I had to reread it. For those of you that don't know what he's referring to, recently news came out that a couple players, they asked Nick Saban for a total of $1.3 million, and Saban said kick rocks. We made a video talking about it. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. So I'm 99% sure that Sean here, he's referring to that, but also I don't understand what you're talking about. Because he's saying if Nick Saban don't get on with the program and start paying these guys, Alabama, we're going to fall behind. I'm not going to call you a fool because my grandma, she never liked that word. She never liked when I said it, so I don't say it, but I am going to say this is an idiotic take. I'm not calling you an idiot, but it's an idiotic take, and I'll explain why. Nick Saban in Alabama didn't pay a single player, and they just had the best recruiting class of all time. 9 5-star recruits. So yet again, I know I sound like a broken record player, but I'm going to say this. I don't understand what you're referring to when you're trying to say Nick Saban's falling behind because he ain't paying these guys. Let me make something clear. At Alabama currently, we don't have to pay players. Maybe in 10, 15, 20 years that's going to change, but for right now, our sales pitch to you is, number one, we're the gold standard, and number two, we're going to get you to the NFL. But finally, moving on to the main topic, the main encore, the main reason you clicked onto this video, we got to talk about Michigan and the Ohio State. I showed you guys this a couple of days ago. It's where Joel Klatt tweeted out the total 5-star recruits in 2023. 39 total 5-stars, which I don't agree with. I miss it back in the old days when 5-stars, they were rare and there was only about 20. Now it just seems like everybody's a 5-star. Regardless of that, 39 5-stars, we got to deal with it. Out of those 39, 22 are heading to the SEC and 29 if you count Oklahoma and Texas. 15 out of those said 39, and this is crazy, are heading to Alabama and Georgia, and Alabama has none of those. Unreal to say the least. The Big 12 is getting 7, the Pac 12 is getting 5, the ACC is getting 4, and last but not least, I've told you guys this for the past 2 years, the overrated and sorry Big 10. Would you look at that? They're getting 1. That's not just Ohio State. The entire Big 10 is getting 1 5-star recruit. You hate to see it. If you gotta ask me, the only word to use to describe the situation is embarrassing. And Big Ten fans, I know we got a bunch of y'all watching the channel. Let me know your thoughts on this. How are you not embarrassed? I mean, this is flat out pathetic. The ACC is pitiful. One of the worst conferences out there, and they got more than you. It's embarrassing. It really is. Hold on. Speaking of embarrassing, let's get down to the nit and gritty and talk about Michigan and Ohio State. Let me put it this way. To say this mind boggles me, it would be an understatement. And also, if I was a Michigan or an Ohio State fan, I would be highly concerned. Where do you want me to start with this? Okay, let's just go with Michigan first. Michigan is coming off a back-to-back, let me repeat that, back-to-back college football playoff appearances. Not too shabby. Now, I know you didn't win the championship, but you made it to the Final Four. That's amazing. To go along with that, you've also beaten your arch rival who you've struggled with the past 10 years, back-to-back seasons. Congratulations, that's awesome. This isn't just for your diehards, but I think anybody would put 2 and 2 together. Okay, you're coming off of back-to-back amazing years, so you should be recruiting great. Everything should be on the rise, correct? Your program should be thriving. It should not be heading in the wrong direction. But, and you know how this goes, I have a big but, it's the complete opposite for Michigan. Not only did you have 0 5-star recruits, which doesn't shock me whatsoever, you finished 18th overall in recruiting. I'm sorry, I forgot the teams that out-recruited them. I'm just now looking at it again. You got out-recruited by Auburn and South Carolina. Now, granted, yes, Auburn's in the Southeast, but South Carolina, for South Carolina to out-recruit Michigan, What have I said all throughout this video? Weird and embarrassing. And to go on top of that, Auburn's a laughing stock. They're one of the worst teams in the SEC, and they out-recruited you. Unreal, man. Straight up unreal. And I know what a bunch of you about to run to the comment section and say, and I get it. Well, Matt, it's not about getting the best recruits. It's about doing the best with what you got. And I agree. I agree 100%. I'd rather have the 3-star recruit that's going to give me 110% effort over the 5-star that's going to lollygag around and give me 60% effort. However, though, there is a fine line. You got to have dudes to compete and win games. At the end of the day, one of, if not the biggest aspect about college basketball and college football is recruiting, because without dudes, you can't win. You can't win without dudes, I'm telling you. I'm all for the, we got a walk-on who's outperforming, but at the end of the day, you gotta have a bunch of dudes on your team. And here's why the Michigan one's weird to me. I think a main reason you struggled in recruiting is because Jim Harbaugh, it feels like he doesn't want to be there at times. Sometimes it feels like he's half in, half out. He may go back to the NFL. He may go somewhere else. Who knows? And that does affect recruiting. I talked to a lot of these recruits, and they've told me they don't know if they want to go to Michigan because the last thing they want to do is get recruited by Jim Harbaugh. Then next year, Jim Harbaugh leaves and some new head coach comes in. When I was in high school, I was going through a recruiting process, and that was one of the biggest fears I had. And if you're a high school recruit, whether it's basketball, baseball, or football, I'm sure you can relate. That is the worst case in scenario. A coach recruits you, and the first or second year you get there, he goes somewhere else. Because that new head coach, when he comes in, he didn't recruit you. He doesn't want you. A lot of times it's going to be A-okay if you're a really great player. It's not going to matter what new head coach comes in. But I know a lot of guys where they were starting on a team, new head coach comes in, and they're no longer playing. Why? Because that new head coach, he didn't recruit them. So that is the only, what's the word I'm looking for? That is the only reasonable answer and explanation as to why Michigan was so bad in recruiting this offseason. And you kind of got to feel and believe this way. I thought about it, and I think Jim Harbaugh, he's in the same boat. I don't think Michigan can win a championship. I think they've reached their pinnacle. You got to think about it. These last 2 seasons for Michigan, although Michigan fans will tell you was a disappointment, these were amazing years, and they still didn't win a championship. So you had amazing years. You upset your rival, and it still wasn't enough. And to go on top of that, you got this mediocre recruit class coming in, and I know what a lot of Michigan fans are going to say. I should have touched on this earlier. Oh, Matt, well, we got our starting quarterback coming back, and we also got our running back coming back, and that's all fine and dandy. Here's my counter argument to that, and I told you guys this heading into the Ohio State game. I didn't think it mattered if Blake Corum played or not because the backup is just as good. I think Blake Corum is a great running back, but the running back position is the easiest to replace. It really doesn't matter who's playing running back. I don't care what anybody tries to tell you. The most important position on the field is the quarterback spot. So let's talk about that briefly before we move on to Ohio State. I told you guys not this recent season, but the one before when you had old McNamara running the show, that J.J. McCarthy should have been starting since day one. Nobody has been higher on McCarthy than me. I think the kid has unlimited talent and potential. At the end of the day, though, I'd be sitting up here lying to you if I told you he was a game changer because I don't feel that way about him. He's not a quarterback you fear heading into the Michigan game. When you think about Michigan last year, this year, and the next year, you think about the running game. Can J.J. McCarthy make the throws? Yes, but my point is he's not a Bryce Young. He's not a Caleb Williams. He's not a Johnny Manziel. He's not on that level, and he more than likely never will be. And that's not a knock on him. It's more so of a knock on how Michigan plays. That's not the play style. Michigan doesn't have a play style where they're going to let the quarterback go out there and throw the ball 50 times a game. Michigan does not have a play style where their quarterback is ever going to be up for the Heisman Trophy. So with all that being said, I have no idea how to feel about Michigan moving forward. Not just this year coming up, next year, but the years after that. Obviously, you're going to go 10-2 or better every single year because the Big Ten is just that pitiful and piss poor. When I say the Big Ten's bad, this is how bad it is to put into a better perspective. If you'd put South Carolina into the Big Ten next year, people would be talking about South Carolina potentially winning it. South Carolina in the Big Ten is going 10-2 every single season. That's the bottom line. The Big Ten is atrocious outside of Ohio State and Michigan. Speaking of Ohio State, I think it's time we talk about them in the weird state they're also in. Ohio State's got to have the most, and I mean the absolute most obnoxious fan base out of every single team in the country. And yes, I mean every single team, including Tennessee. Somehow, someway, Ohio State's fan base is more obnoxious than Tennessee's. I'll elaborate on what I'm talking about. When Tennessee beat Alabama, yeah, they was bragging, but I get it. You haven't beat Alabama in 15 years. But when Tennessee lost to South Carolina, they shut their mouths. I'll give it to Tennessee fans. They know when to bite their tongue. Ohio State fans, they do not. They are the only team I know that can lose and get embarrassed on their home field to their rival and still talk crap about other teams. I don't get it whatsoever. But anyways, moving along here, Ohio State, their recruiting class wasn't great, but it was good. You only got one 5-star recruit, but you still finished in the top 5. Here's my thing with Ohio State, and I'd be concerned if I was a fan. 10, 15 years ago, they was this big, bad, rugged Big Ten team, but now they're turning into a West Coast type of team. Ohio State is nothing more than USC 2.0, and you can't change my mind. I'll give Ohio State way more respect than USC because they are slightly more physical, but on the grand scheme of things, they're a West Coast team. I want you to think about it. When we talk about Ohio State, what do we talk about? Great quarterback and flashy wide receivers and a terrible defense. Sounds like Pac-12 to me. You can't even make this stuff up. That's what we talk about when we speak on Ohio State. Now when we talk about Ohio State, we're like, okay, can they outscore their opponent because their defense is so bad, they're going to have to score at minimum 40 points to win a game. Ohio State's defense for the past 3 years has been nothing short of pathetic and miserable. It's that bad. And also, think about this. Similar to Michigan, in the past 3 years, you had some of the most talented wide receivers that were ever put on this planet, and you have nothing to show for it. And matter of fact, not only did you not win a national title, but you couldn't beat Michigan. And now we're getting to this point where, yeah, they're still going to have some good wide receivers, but now you don't have a quarterback. Now you're in the process of, okay, we got to find a new quarterback, and I can guarantee you whoever it's going to be, they're not going to be as good as CJ Stroud. I hate to break the news to you, Ohio State fans. The only reason you were in these games this year and last year was because of Stroud. However, when it comes to Ohio State, I never question their quarterback play or their wide receiver play or really their running back or total offense because they always have a good quarterback, good running back or good running backs, and good wide receivers. The thing with Ohio State I've questioned the past 3 years is the defense. The defense is bad, and when I say bad, I mean bad, very bad. You suck at defense, and a lot of people are going to go, oh yeah, he's just trying to be funny or whatnot. I'm not trying to be funny, I'm being dead serious. You suck. You've been terrible at defense the past 3 years, and you've made zero changes whatsoever to your schemes and systems, so why should I believe next year, which is going to be the 4th year in a row, you're going to be at least decent at defense? Why should I believe it? That's insane. Until something changes, I'm not changing my opinion. Once again, I'm going to say this, and I want you to understand this. I'm not worried about whoever the quarterback's going to be next year at Ohio State because I know they're going to average 40 points per game. The problem is the defense. They've yet to fix it, and I don't think they will next year either. The Big Ten is currently in one of the weirdest states ever, and out of all the teams in the conference, the team that I trust the most, and this is the team with less talent than Ohio State, this is a team with a head coach that really doesn't even want to be there, it's Michigan. I trust Michigan because I know what I'm going to get out of them every single week. Defense wins championships. You can count on your defense to travel. You can always count on your defense, but you can't always count on your offense to score 45 points every single game. I know nowadays it's a weird concept because 10 years ago, defense wins championships. We're talking about only giving up 7 points per game. 10 years ago, when we'd say defense wins championships, we're talking about holding a team to 14 points a game. And now in 2023, when we say defense wins championships, we're talking about holding your opponent to 21 points per game. It is what it is. Let me know your thoughts down below about the